with you. I think it's actually nice to do this presentation because it's definitely a follow-up to what you've seen in the previous presentation, especially talking about social data. I think a lot of the messages that I wanted to bring forward have already been done, so I just wanted to re-emphasize some of the important practical things on how do you make social data a weapon to grow your audience. If we think about the messages earlier today, it's a given that it's an important area. It's a given because it's important for our reach. It's a given because it's where our audience is. It's much more difficult to bring our audience into our own channels than it is for them to log on to social media. Now, when you know that people are spending over 2 hours a day on social media, how do you ensure that you're the one capturing that time? At the same time, I think the gentleman here in the front earlier today posted a question of, yeah, you have the people that are following you already. Those are interesting, but what about those that are not following you? Do you have any idea of what their interests are? Can you capture their interests and bring them into, let's call it your circle of trust? You can. And that's basically a little bit what I want to talk today and share a little bit of the anecdotes with you of customers in the publishing industry that have been doing this with us. The Drum being one of them, but for example, in the US we have digital brands like Upworthy that we're working with, younger segments in France like the Melty Group. And the fun thing about being in such an international environment is that you learn different tricks, both for digital, but more importantly of how digital and traditional channels connect to one another. Now, that is also why we want to highlight social data is important, because social data is about understanding experiences. If you would have asked me a week ago, I would have told you that I work for this company called Falcon.io that works with social media. If you ask me that same question today, I will tell you that we just rebranded yesterday into a customer experience platform. And why have we done that? It's because you guys heard it today, social is not just a channel. Social is interacting everywhere. Look at the first presentation today on VR and think about that slide where you see where do you measure success. You look at a bunch of tweets that have been posted from an experience that was a singular experience, me with a piece of carton. So it's interesting to see how all of these things intertwine, and the question here is how do you use that data? I think Denise made a very important point that data should not just be something that gives you a counter, but actually it's something that should be guiding what is the next action that you want your customer to take. Which leads to, for me, number 3, social data are your KPIs. It is basically also your way of asking yourself what is your customer journey. I'd like to say that we need to rethink our customer journey. We talk about, I think Adam mentioned nicely that social is a very good tool for the top of the funnel. Now, I like to think about a customer journey like a game of snakes and ladders. I don't have control over it. It just moves and I try to follow it. Now, to play 4 people on a board is easy. To have a market with hundreds and thousands of users, it's a completely different challenge to find where the journey starts and where is it going to move next. So I just want to give you some practical tips on how we move from total stranger into best of friends. So, step number 1, stop thinking about your audience as the person that is already your follower. Start thinking about the people who are not your audience, but that have interests that are the same as yours. So what do we mean by that? Think about the presentation earlier today. Influencers. Who are your influencers? Influencers are not just people that are talking about your brand or your competitor. They're people that are talking about the topics that are of interest to whatever your company is. Now, social is not just a tool of publishing messages out, it's a tool actually for finding people. And I think that one of the biggest things that we've learned from listening to us is that while most brands are looking to find out what their reputation is on social, they're actually missing out on the power that search queries or listening queries have in order for them to identify new audiences. What we've seen, for example, in France is that basically what Melty Group is doing is that they're looking at themes that our younger segments are talking about, and they're cleaning up these listening queries so that they can find the right people that are talking about whatever event they want to write about in the right time. And then basically what do? They go from that, let's call it discovery mode, where they not only find their existing customers, but also find new people talking about these topics, to what we call an attract mode. And the attract mode is basically once you've created a segment because of a listen query, you've not only identified a new audience, but you also can group these people, so what you can do next is contact them through social. Now, how do you contact them through social? Social is interesting because it works in many ways. You have people that are already actively engaging with your brands. For those that actively engage with your brands, you can actually have one-to-one communication. I mean, we we think it's complicated, but there's so much technology out there, and it's not just us. I can tell you that there's a lot of providers out there, but I definitely would say that we're one of the best, that can actually really help you in understanding how you can make one-to-one communication scalable. Think about the templates, think about standard questions that you get. In the same way, connect your earned social activities with paid activities. A lot of us are using advertising as a way to create reach, but think about that bridge between reach and engagement. And I'm running out of seconds, so I'll go straight to the point here. When you think about those conversations, take those conversations across channels. I think it was in a presentation of Ernst, with Ernst rightly said, but guys, you forgot email. Now what's the relationship across those different channels? The moment that you discovered somebody on Twitter who actually also you can match in your email database, you have 2 touch points that you can immediately contact that person on.
Oh, it's about
Those were 5 minutes.
That was amazing.